Hi everyone. Before we get into the actual subject matter of the video, excuse me, I just figured I'd kind of do a little bit of an update because I've been, checking the comments after my last few videos and lots of great video requests. And so please be looking for, and this is one of those video request responses on decks to use when healing from a breakup, which I thought was a really great question that was asked in the last video for me to make a video on. But, if you have something that you want to ask me to make a video about, please feel free in the comments below to leave me a brief comment there, and I will add it to my list of videos to make. They're always really, most of the time you guys give me really inspiring things to make videos on, and it's always great to hear what you guys want to hear too, as well as whatever's calling to me to make a video about. And once again, I'm sorry I'm so whited out. It's just kind of the time of year here where I am, and we're just going to do the best we can. At least you can hear me clearly. Everyone seems happy with the sound now, so that's really good. Let's see. Oh, and I had a huge amount of requests for room tour and showing you all my tattoos. So I thought about it a little bit, and I really have no problem sharing that with you guys. So I will be doing videos on that too. My room is very small up here, so it won't be a super long video, that one. I might combine those two subjects together, but yeah, I'm more than happy to share that with you guys. And yes, I do have new ink, just so you can all see. It's the elemental sign of water and the elemental signs on my hand. Now, you may look at this and be like, well, for the way it looks to me, it's like the elemental sign for fire, when this hand is, tattoo is based on the elemental sign of water. But when people are looking at it and when I'm doing my work, it is the elemental sign of water. And my tattoo artist, who is an amazing guy, extremely, extremely gifted, he and I work really intentionally on the tattoos that I get, and they're very much all based on sacred geometry, and they're also pieces that that serve as protection for me on my journey. So yeah, and then I just have the elemental signs here. This piece will be going up my arm as time goes by, so you will see more of it. And today is not the day to show you all my tattoos, but I do have sacred geometry on the inside of my arms, as many of you know. So those pieces are still there, obviously. What else was I going to say about that? Yeah, and I got my hair cut, as you can see, so my hair is shorter. Let's see if there's anything else on the physical aspect that anybody might want to comment on. I think that's it. So this video today is on decks to use to help you kind of recover from a breakup, heal from a breakup, get to know yourself again after a breakup, and go through that healing process. Now, the person who left the comment asked me for one deck, but I'm actually going to show a couple of them, more than a couple. I mean, you guys know how I am. Because I do think that there are various stages that you go through in the grieving process of an ending of a relationship. Now, I'm going to approach this as if this was a romantic partnership that broke up, but this could also be, loss of a loved one, or maybe you've had to end a relationship with a best friend or a family member for a time, and you might be feeling like you're really grieving that. So these decks can also help you with that too, but I'm going to be focusing on this as if you were going through a breakup of a romantic partnership. So the first thing that I would say to you, through experiencing this myself over the years as someone who had cards as part of the process for all of the significant breakups in my life, there are definitely stages. And the most important piece to this, I would say, that you're going to hear me say a lot, is especially in the beginning process of healing and figuring out, how you're going to keep on breathing and keep on going and move through all those emotions, and who are you now without that other individual by your side in your life? The most important thing for me was coming back to decks that felt gentle but also empowering. So I'm going to talk about that a lot. And then there are specific decks that got into very nitty-gritty areas for me when I was ready to do soul searching and look at my part in things, and how could I bring things into better alignment for myself moving forward, and especially as I started to approach the possibility of other relationships in the future. So I want to start with two decks that are really gentle, really loving, and like can be a balm for that type of heartbreak when you're really feeling that Three of Swords energy very strongly. So that would be the Love Your Inner Goddess deck. And I know, I'm just going to show you a couple images while I talk about the deck. I know some people really don't like this deck, but when I went through my breakup in 2019, that felt, it was like it was 5 years ago, even though it was only last year. This deck was really helpful the first month just to feel like I wasn't alone and that I was loved and lovable and that I was going to like heal. I was going to find my way out of the darkness. This was one of those decks that really encouraged me to like keep on going, not give up, trust that things will get better, and also feel like there are that, you know, feel that your guides are there. Sometimes when you're in that dark place and it's really hard, you question if you are completely alone and if there's ever going to be, you know, like any even spiritual beings that are going to connect with you again, because it can feel again just very, very alone and dark. And this deck really let me feel connected to my guides without me having to, like, you know, go through a process, because I was feeling so sad. It was easy to feel a connection and get a message from my guides that was clear for me every day just by drawing a card from this deck. So I do recommend this one if you're going through a breakup. It's very gentle. It's not necessarily one you're going to use through the whole process, but especially at the beginning, I found this to be very helpful. So along that theme of decks that can be really gentle yet empowering, I'm going to include the Magic of You Oracle in this. Now, I did not have this deck when I was going through the breakup that I went through last year, but what I do find is that this deck is very clear, and it also lets you feel really connected to your spirituality, especially if you're a witch or a pagan. I'm not saying you have to be that to use this deck, but there's a really deep level of connection that comes in with this deck if you do follow an alternative spiritual path. And there's an honesty with the guidebook in this deck. The images are beautiful and it's empowering, but it's not like going to kick your butt. This is more of like, you're doing good, be aware of this, keep on believing in yourself. It's got that type of energy to it for me when I read for myself with it. And so I think that this deck would be very helpful maneuvering through a breakup of like coming back again, coming back to yourself, like figuring out who you are, learning how to trust yourself again. Because, you know, sometimes we go through that in a breakup, like, how could I have been so wrong to think that this individual was going to be a person I would be in relationship with for a long time? Or, you know, if you didn't trust your intuition through that process of the relationship and the breakup, you can be kind of hard on yourself about that. And that deck helps you like realign with your intuition in a way that's non-judgmental, which I really enjoy. So that is the Magic of You Oracle. And then I'm going to show you, now I'm going to pronounce, I'm going to get the title of this deck wrong. I think it's Kitsune the Foxfire Oracle, or it's Lucy Cavendish's Foxfire Oracle. If you just look that up on Amazon, you'll be able to find it there. I would say that this deck is very helpful as you move into that more like stage of like you're feeling that fire and you might feel angry or like, I'm going to reclaim myself, like this is who I am, I'm figuring who I am out, and like nobody's going to hold me back anymore. I've got to like get in touch with myself. I know I've got some real spiritual journeying to do, and like I'm ready for that. Like as you move out of like the first initial stage of just absolute mourning, like not sure how you're going to be able to get out of bed and get through the day, then the Foxfire Oracle or the Kitsune Oracle can really help you to like get back, like to keep that fuel going, not in a negative way, but in a way that helps you to keep moving forward, to keep, you know, getting your ass out of bed every day and like connecting with your spiritual path, going to work, doing all the things that you need to do to keep going, and starting to feel a little bit more empowered again. So this deck I think is really good for that. And it's a beautiful deck as well. And not only that, but the backing is very empowering just looking at it. And it's nice one to have out on the altar, especially if you are still in that grieving process too, just to help you feel like it's just, I don't know, when I look at the card backing itself, I feel a little bit empowered, like I'm remembering my spirituality, I'm connecting to something else besides memories of an individual who's not in my life anymore, that kind of thing. So this deck is good for that. Now, when you're ready to, again, like as you're moving through that, oops, sorry, my alarm just went off. As you're moving through that process, and like now you're feeling ready to kind of like maybe do some shadow work, but also you still want to be empowering for yourself. And it's becoming less about like missing the other individual or like what did I do wrong, what could I have done better, and it's becoming more about like rediscovering what life is going to look like for you now in a new way. I actually really enjoy the Oracle of the Mermaids for that. So it's like you have the Kitsune Oracle, which is the fire, and then you have the water element here that balance out each other nicely. And this deck is really going to give you, you know, a sense of being able to reconnect with like the sacred feminine within yourself. Excuse me. But also to the magical aspects of yourself. Maybe you're ready to come back into working some ritual with this, and you know, and like doing some shadow work, but maybe not an intense level of shadow work yet. But like you're getting ready to go into some of those darker areas, you know, dealing with like perhaps the level of maybe rejection or betrayal that occurred in the relationship that may have led to its ending. This is a deck that's going to be very supportive of you, but can be a bit more clear about, you know, areas that need maybe attention in your life or need nurturing. And it's also going to connect you with that element of water, so it's going to bring you back into your intuition as well. And looking at, you know, the pain as finding a way for the pain to serve a purpose. And I think Oracle of Mermaids can do that very well. So from there, this is usually a time on my path if I'm dealing with a breakup or the ending of a relationship or connection, where once I'm kind of moving through that space, then I'm ready to like really get some clarity. And maybe I am kind of ready for a little bit of an ass kicking now, like a positive one from the universe, right? Of like, okay, what is it that I need to do going forward now? Like, what are the aspects within me in shadow that led to the dissolution of this relationship, and the other individual that I need to bring awareness to for myself is something I might choose to keep experiencing over and over again. Where are the wounds in childhood from that might be leading me to want to keep repeating something familiar? So when you're ready to do the shadow work aspect of relationships, you know, this, I wouldn't encourage stepping into this right away unless you really, really feel called to. You might want to give yourself a little time to be in that more like gentle space of being held by the universe as you grieve. But then I move into tarot. So then I work with the Night Sun Tarot and the Tarot of Vampires. Both of these decks are going to give you clarity. They're not going to lie to you. You do need to be ready to, you know, hear the answer that they're going to give you about those areas in your life. And maybe what, you know, what you need to focus on right now that's maybe not what you want to focus on. Like maybe you want to jump into another relationship and not deal with the pain from the dissolution of this last one. And the cards will be like kind of clear with you about that. You know, it's not really time to jump into another relationship. It's time to kind of sit in this and take a look at these things, or, you know, those type of things. The Night Sun Tarot and Tarot of Vampires are really going to do that for you. I encourage you to use the guidebook with Tarot of Vampires, because it's going to help you get right into that shadow stuff, go into the deeper, you know, like more nitty gritty areas, and focus on that, you know, like not focus, but like find that, dive into it, understand it, integrate it, extract what needs to be extracted, and then allow you to move into a fresh perspective. Sorry guys, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so I'm a little bit congested. So those are the two tarot decks on this list. And I think really Tarot of Vampires can be used through the entire process for sure. Night Sun you may wish to reserve for when you really feel ready to hear answers to questions that you know you need to ask but may not completely want to. So not so much like, am I going to find love again? But more like, you know, how can I heal abandonment issues or something like that. Night Sun's really going to like give you that very clearly and concisely. Then Tarot of Vampires will let you kind of flesh that out a little bit more and go deeper into that. Then when you're really ready for shadow work, and you can choose for yourself whether you use the Chicoli Tarot or the Chicoli Oracle. I just happen to like the shape of this and the feel of this for myself. Then you can step into the Chicoli Oracle and do some real heavy lifting as far as shadow work goes, especially around inner child wounds, sexuality, issues that may show up in a connection with another person that is physical or not physical. This deck is really going to, this deck or the Chicoli Tarot, they're going to like kind of push your buttons and go into those spaces. And there is a time on the path of healing from a breakup where that is actually helpful. You have to trust your intuition to know when you're in that place. But you will know, you'll feel it, you'll be ready to do that type of spiritual work. And this deck is like one of those like very nuanced ones. I wouldn't use it like all the time. I wouldn't go full bore constantly, but I would work with that when it feels appropriate and you feel ready. It's like that's that tool that's very precise that you're going to use for a very specific reason. And then you don't overuse it. You go right in with that tool, and then you allow that tool to that tool's done its job, and now maybe you pull in the Kitsune Oracle to like back up whatever shadow work you've done with the Chicoli. So that's the Chicoli Oracle. And then as you're like flowing kind of out of the space, I mean, I really think it takes like a year to get over a breakup, especially if it's been a longer term relationship or someone that you really felt a sense of deep connection with, not something casual. At least for me, I know like the year's journey was very necessary. And as you kind of end that cycle, and you've been doing that shadow work, you're feeling more like you've gotten to know yourself at a deeper level. You have an awareness of going forward, how you want to experience relationship again when the time is right. In this case or through this process, by the time you get to this point in the journey, you may even be opening up to seeing other people or just focusing on other things besides the fact that this relationship has ended. And yet you're still moving through the emotions of, healing and releasing. Then the Mystical Shaman Oracle is a great option for you because it's going to bring in the wisdom from the experience, the compassion from the experience, and really let you connect in with your inner self, like the psychopomp within your higher self, and hear the wisdom of the ancestors coming through to you as well. That, even though relationships can feel in some ways like the most important things in our lives, and for many of us they're where we learn the majority of our lessons as souls. There are also there are also other aspects of our life that are equally as important. And this deck, that's reversed, guys. This deck can really help you to feel that and to feel supported by the universe as you open up to those, deeper things, those deeper aspects of you, your spiritual path, who you are, how you're moving about in the world, the choices you're making for yourself, and, if you have other people in your life that are dependent upon you, those people as well. So the Mystical Shaman Oracle is great for that. And then the last deck I'm going to show you is the Isis Oracle. Now, I think you can use this deck throughout the process, but especially when you need to step into like this very connected sense of self as a priestess or priest, or however you choose to identify that for yourself along those lines. Connecting with Isis is really, really impactful and powerful. And she's going to like give you that boost to start moving forward. So I've left her for the last one because I think throughout the whole process you can connect in with the Isis Oracle, but especially also as you're reaching the end of that kind of grieving process of a relationship or a breakup, of a relationship ending, a breakup happening. The Isis Oracle can also like really help you to understand the lessons, like to sum up the lessons for you in a way that leaves you feeling really empowered. So I'm going to come back to that word empowered, because I think it's important that the card work throughout this process not tear you down to such a point where you have no faith in yourself or mankind or your spirituality. You're going to go through moments of that, but that's not a state that you want to be living in through the mourning process. And the Isis Oracle can really help you to like come back to truths, core truths, and to feel connected to your spirituality through that process. So I'm just going to show you a few images from this deck. This deck, like the Tarot Vampires, has been on my channel like thousands of times. So you guys know what this deck is. I'm just going to show you this last card there. But that is the Isis Oracle. Just a few other pointers if you're in the middle of going through a breakup and you're like, I really don't know what to do with myself. Excuse me. I found that spending time alone is actually important. You don't want to isolate too much, but having time to yourself is important. I think journaling, card work is very important. Really, and what I would encourage is not just card work about like what happened or why did this happen or are we going to come back together? Can we figure things out, or is there a new relationship for me? I mean, we all are going to draw about things like that when we're going through that process. But if you can also allow the card work to really be about you and understanding yourself and your spiritual path, that's super helpful, and it helps you to flow through the stages of mourning at the ending of a relationship and not get stuck in an area of like wanting something back or romanticizing a relationship that's ended. I do think being very careful about the people that you choose to have around you and give you advice is also really important. If you're a Taurus and an INFJ like me, you might tend to ask too many people for their opinions and have too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to your healing process at the end of a relationship. I would encourage you to like reach out to trusted friends and family members that you really do feel like have your back, but also don't like overly get too many people's voices in the situation. Really like allow yourself to have your grieving process. It is a death. It's not a physical death of a person, but it is the death of the connection that the two of you had, which is its own individual energy. So it is a death. You do need to go through the mourning process and like avoiding that, whether it's by asking too many people their opinions or about like what you should do with your life now, or, going out and partying too much to avoid things, or like whatever you can use as a distraction, right? Like for some people that might be like gaming all the time and not dealing with their feelings, or I don't know, like reading a book and not dealing with your feelings too much. Do you know what I mean? You know for yourself what you tend to use as a way to distract yourself from like feeling the emotions. So if you can give yourself the gift of enough time to yourself to not give into the distractions and just focus on your real feelings, it's going to help you shift and flow through the stages of mourning in a really like, not symmetrical is not the right word, but in an easier, gentle, more aligned way than fighting it by trying to distract yourself constantly every step of the way. That's not something you want to judge yourself for when you do give into a distraction. Just like come back to your center, come back to that Hermit card or the Hierophant or Temperance card, whatever card in the Major Arcana speaks to you about this particular journey for you, like come back to that energy and allow yourself to feel your feelings with the understanding that you're not always going to be stuck in that feeling. It's just something that needs to be honored and integrated in the moment for your process as a soul. Let me see if there's anything else I want to add to that. Also like finding things that really speak to us in those times can be very helpful. So maybe you start a new creative project, or you go and look at some art, or you make sure you're getting out in nature more. Do things that help you to feel more connected to creativity and spirituality also. Those can really be a balm for the soul. And you may just have to spend some time with the Three of Swords, and that's completely understandable and a part of the healing process. So yeah, those are my deck recommendations for healing from a breakup, and I hope you find them helpful. So you don't have to use all of them, like work with whichever one you have or whatever calls to you, but I did want to give you some different options because like I said, I found for myself it takes about a year at least to really like go through that process of healing when a relationship of significance in your life ends. So, yeah, I think that's it. That's it. So let me know also any other things you would like to see videos on in the month of January. I do have those other requests written down and I'm working on those. As always, I'm sending you guys much love and many blessings, and I will see you in the next video.